Happy Monday, everyone. It is the first show of 2017, and I am pretty pumped to be here. I hope you guys had an awesome final couple days and an awesome New Year's, awesome Christmas or holiday season, and just a fantastic New Year's. My New Year's was pretty chill, and I really enjoyed that. I spent a lot of time in New Mexico for the holidays, and then I came back home and just wanted to chill for New Year's. So that was just like perfect for me. And ever since I got back, I was like, what do I want to start with? What's kind of on my mind right now? And this weekend I actually watched a fascinating talk by a man named Aubrey de Grey. And Aubrey is a researcher. He's a scientist. He's a researcher, and what he specifically focuses on is the art of aging, or the science of aging, and how we can ultimately extend our lives, or the ultimate goal would be to have death be an optional experience rather than something that's mandatory as it is currently, obviously. And so after watching this, I've watched videos on longevity and anti-aging before. However, none of those videos really hit me like this one did, because this talk really suggested that this is something, this concept, these technologies, these therapies, these possibilities are a lot closer to us, to a lot more viable to us, like to the, I guess I would say, to the world, not just to rich people or privileged geniuses or that sort of thing. It's something that may be very available to us in the next few years, or at least it will become. I guess what they're saying is within the next 10 years, so it's like 2017 now. By 2027. The concept of extending our lives 30 plus years, or even not, having death as an optional experience, will be very much anticipated. That's what scientists are saying. So it's something I wanted to talk about, and what I wanted to bring up, because the concept of, it's like this concept, to be in my opinion, is almost as, I guess I would say, it's almost as shocking and like mind-blowingly it's like a mind-blowing social change that's probably equivalent to that of like extraterrestrials coming down and like connecting with us. I almost feel like it's like that, just because, like, can you imagine like a world in which, like, the concept of death is no longer relevant, or at least relevant in the same way, that in the same context? Like, can you imagine if, like, you chose when you die, when you end this life, where it's a choice now, can you imagine a world, even in your lifetime? Imagine a world in your lifetime where you imagine living to 130, or 150. Imagine that. Like, that is something that may be possible within our lifetime. And if all goes well, we ultimately could extend our lives far enough forward where we are able to, like I said, have death be an option, which is crazy. So basically, it just completely changes the way that we perceive the world around us. And so I wanted to share this, just kind of like the spark notes of this talk that Aubrey de Grey did, and I'm just gonna move over to. Well, I'll start off by talking about how basically he started off by saying that 200 years ago, a third of people would die before the age of 1 due to infectious diseases. So that was just life 200 years ago. Fast forward 200 years, and dying, a significant portion of the world. It is very uncommon for people to die before age 40, which is like tremendous. We've gone pretty far, and in most developed countries, most countries actually, the average is about 65. that you can live to. So we've definitely been able to increase our lives significantly within 200 years, and that's without, that's with like, I guess I would say advances in medicine, but not necessarily. Well, I guess I would say this is significant advances in medicine and lifestyle and just understanding more about the body. So that's that. And so what they're saying is that within the next 25 years, we absolutely may have the abilities to extend our lives another 25 to 30 years. Let me just bring out these notes so I can move forward. So, like we said, it's rare. Okay, so basically he also went into how basically we've had a lot of success with a lot of different diseases. Like let's see, what are a couple examples of diseases? Like tuberculosis, malaria. Let's see, what are there's a crap load of, like, I would say, communicable and congenital diseases that we've been able to deal with. However, there's also a lot of chronic diseases that we haven't been able to deal with, and basically those chronic diseases are like Alzheimer's, cancer, atherosclerosis. And these are typically the ones that we only have like invasive therapies that have high side effects attached to them, and essentially through this, it's like we have these therapies, but they're not very effective, and like we don't necessarily know how to treat these particular diseases, basically because they're coming from they're coming from a lot of different areas, and it's not always clear where the source of the problem is starting from. And so let me just show you guys this little slide, and my apologies for being a little bit off here, but we will get back on point. Okay, so here's some of the slides from this talk, and basically, so we got diseases and aging, popular view. This is like how we seen it. We got communicable, congenital, and chronic diseases, and we lump those all together, and then there's 8 diseases that are specifically, we say they're specifically due to aging: frailty, sarcopenia, immunosenescence. We're saying these specifically are due to old age, and then the rest are due to just diseases, and we're just trying to figure out how to deal with those. Basically, what Aubrey de Grey suggested is that we redefine what some of these chronic diseases are. So we move that chronic disease section into the aging section and say, hey, these are specific diseases that are actually a result of aging. And if we can find therapies that are specifically dedicated to improving our aging and processes with aging, then we'll actually be able to get a hold on Alzheimer's, get a hold on cancer, stop atherosclerosis. He says that by treating them as communicable or congenital diseases, we won't get anywhere, and thus we haven't really made much progress on those in the first place. So basically, let's move here. So basically, he says so we have geriatrics, and a newer field is gerontology. Geriatrics is the study of older individuals, and gerontology is the study of aging, or the study of the scientific study of old age, the process of aging, and the particular problems of old people. So basically, what he says is that if we, instead of waiting till damage has occurred to the body and then moving into geriatric care later in life, why don't we focus on gerontology and focus on preventative care, by focusing on our metabolism and applying therapies that can help to keep our metabolism as high as possible and as efficient as possible, thereby preventing more damage from ensuing and preventing the need for as much geriatric care. He shows the metabolism and says it's extremely complex. Metabolism is a word for basically every process, I would say every process in your body that's occurring. So it's just kind of like a general label for that. And so basically there's so much going on at once. And so it's it would be impossible to really truly pick apart different parts of different processes and then like basically it would be impossible for us to really try to control every process at once. It just wouldn't work. And so we have to find a different approach for this. And so his suggestion is that he says, the reason why we age, the whole reason why we age is because we're really no much different than a car. We have particular processes that are running and that allow us to operate and move our bodies and do everything that we want to do, just like a car. And just like a car, over time, as these parts and processes are working together, they break down over time, and through movement, through gravity, through life, like these processes damage. They cause damage to the body, to itself, and over time, if that damage reaches a threshold point, for your car, like if your damage reaches a certain point, it will eventually stop working, right? It will eventually break down, or will eventually get to a point where you're like, okay, I can't wait on this anymore. I have to go to the repair shop now. I have to do this now. It's the same thing with our bodies, where we have processes, and basically through all these processes that are running, these systems that are running for long periods of time, they eventually start to they cause damage over long periods of time. And if that damage isn't repaired, or isn't maintained, or we different parts are replaced, or we different, I guess I would say, like different aspects of our body aren't cleaned out, then we will accumulate damage to a point where we reach a threshold point, and then that threshold point is usually where we start to see disease come in. And at the point of disease, that's about, like, at least I would say, like, 50-60% of your body is damaged when you're hitting like disease point. And then, because that's basically your body warning you, it's the communication from your body saying, hey, there's a major issue here that needs to be taken care of. And then obviously as you go down the line with disease, there's a point at which you die. So essentially, what Aubrey de Grey is saying is that we need to focus on maintenance care for our bodies. Like, this needs to be a thing, and if it's not, like, we're never going to be able to solve aging, and we're going to be living miserable lives. And essentially, like, it's like, why do we have to suffer for the last like 30-40 years of our lives? Why can't we maintain ourselves, and feel good? So he said science has discovered over the years that there are seven different forms of ways in which the body damages itself through these processes. Through its bodily processes, it damages itself in 7 ways. Those 7 are cell loss or cell atrophy, division-obsessed cells, death-resistant cells, mitochondrial mutations, intracellular junk, extracellular junk, and extracellular matrix stiffening. And basically he said that there's been these 7 damage types for about the last like almost 15 years. And so he says that, like, he'd like to, no new type of damage confirmed since 1982. And he hasn't been challenged on this since 2002. So basically, there's a very good chance that, like, these are most of the ways in which the body damages itself. So what Aubrey suggested is that, like, he said, like, well, if there's 7 ways that the body is damaging itself, well, what if we discovered 7 ways 7 therapies that can counter these damage points, and basically we could use these therapies to maintain our bodies, and these therapies would be I guess every few years or however long it would be. Like, we would do these therapies on a more regular basis so that we can make sure that our body is not damaged itself to a point where it can get to the point of disease or or death. So then he goes ahead and he talks about these different forms of. Let me show you this. So here's basically the maintenance that can be done that we're aware of that would work to I guess I would say help these that would essentially therapeutically maintain these damaging aspects to our body. So basically, for cell loss, cell atrophy, we have cell therapy, or like stem cell therapy. division of obsessed cells is telomerase or ALT gene deletion, and it goes on down the line. Most of these things I'm not aware of, I've never heard of, and they're basically different therapeutic modalities that are being researched, and things that could be very viable options in the future. Basically, right now, a lot of these therapies are done, like they finished. They're not just in the labs anymore. They're actually in clinical studies. So basically, they're actually being utilized right now. People are actually like being tested. Like there are tests being run on people right now. And so we're in like a new phase where it's like these aren't just ideas anymore. It's not just research. It's actually like we're actually moving forward with these different therapies. So let's see. What else did he talk about? Yeah, he had mentioned like there's this type of they've discovered this form of bacteria that can actually that they've been found that what did I say specifically? So they said that this bacteria. Okay, so there's an oxidized cholesterol that poisons white blood cells. So they no longer do their job, and that's what drives atherosclerosis. And they actually found a bacteria that's able to break down oxidized cholesterol, and they found the genes and enzymes that allow them to do that. So basically what they do is they modify the enzyme in the human body, or modify an enzyme for the human body, and implant it into a human cell, and they work. They're able to just go ahead and kill these oxidized cholesterols. And so that could be a huge factor in solving atherosclerosis. So that's just like one like more specific example. You guys may have heard of, I'm sure you guys have heard of stem cell therapy. That's another fascinating therapy where basically you have the goal would be for when you're born, you take a stem cell sample and save it, and they're doing this more now. I don't believe that happened when I was a baby, but now it's pretty common. And basically, you save the stem cells, and when you're like, let's say, a couple years later, say 10 or 15 years old, you get injections. So basically, they take your stem cells, they culture them so that there's a bunch of, so you have like one stem cell, now you have 100 stem cells, let's say. Then they'll take those stem cells. Let's say 10 years pass, they'll take those stem cells and then they'll inject them back into your body. So you have a full new fresh supply of stem cells from when you were age 0. And so stem cells essentially are like the blueprint of every cell in your body. And so when stem cells when that blueprint breaks down over multiple generations and mutations and thus not basically that blueprint starts to disintegrate, and if that blueprint is disintegrating, so is your body is going to as well. So basically you're only as effective as your stem cells are, and so if you can maintain your stem cells, then you can maintain your entire body, and your body will be able to regenerate. It's like, how they say you get every 8 years you get like a full set of skin again. It's similar to that. And so basically, stem cell therapy in general can just that alone can make us. I don't know what the how many years something like that could tack on, especially if you had your stem cells from age 0, but it's a fascinating therapy and definitely something that is in clinical trials right now. So that one's fascinating. And let's see. So basically, let's move forward with this. So we talked about the 7 therapies. Let's see. So basically, there's going to be in the next the next 20 to 25 years, they say that the first generation of these treatments will be available, and we're talking about these seven different therapies will be available for the first generation of this longevity, I guess say paradigm shift. And basically those, if those go well, if we're able to basically there's a 50% chance that we'll be able to, in the next 25 years, we'll be able to implement these particular therapies and in a successful way. But if that is true, we'll be able to extend our lives 25 to 30 years, apparently. Within next 20-25 years, we'll have a 50% chance of developing therapies required to maintain 7 forms of bodily damage. And so that's pretty amazing. Basically, they're saying these rejuvenation therapies will make 60-year-olds biologically 40. And the goal is to develop therapies that rapidly enough where the level of damage never reaches a pathogenic amount. So and they're saying there's a 50% chance of that. So basically, I said this earlier, but within the next 10 years, the progress in these labs will be much more dramatic, and we'll have breakthroughs that are so dramatic that it will be impossible to ignore the future, and the post-aging world will be very much anticipated. So basically, the next question I think that comes to it is do we really need to live forever? And what are the benefits of this? Why do we even want this? What's the point? What's the really how does this really help us? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are I'd rather not, I'm okay with going after 80, 100 years. I'm sure there's a lot of people like that. And I know there's a lot of people that'd be no, I'd love to live, forever, or 200 years or whatnot. But really, what would be the benefits to society? And what Aubrey de Grey mentioned was that there's 30, sometimes 40 years of of an elder. Once you're an elderly, you're up in 60s, 70s. That age, your body starts to degenerating, and it's during those periods of time, probably more closer to later 70s, hopefully for most people, but at that point your body really starts to degenerate, and I know there are a fair amount of people who develop dementia or atherosclerosis or various different diseases that are slow, they're painful, it's you lose touch with reality, you lose touch with your loved ones and relationships, and ultimately it just puts a lot of from not being able to function in society. There's not much that you can do, and so it's there are many elderly that are just kind of not really desiring to live anymore, or just feeling useless and feeling they're not capable of doing anything, and they're just sitting at home watching TV all day, and then there's another side where it's just it puts a tremendous amount of stress and burden on the family and on the children. And so what if there was a world where that wasn't the case, where aging wasn't this as it is now, more of this painful, kind of a sad process. It's not everyone experiences this, but there are a fair amount of elderly people that don't have a great ending, and that's that's sad, because it's just why does it have to end so that? And again, it's a choice. There are lifestyle choices that you make that lead to particular circumstances. It's that is the case. However, I think there are things that there's suffering that we can avoid, and if we could do that, if we could help these later generations, if we could help that process, the process of dying, if there could be a better way to do that, and it could be more enjoyable, and if you could be an active member of society until you die, I think that would be a great goal to have, and I think it would help the world tremendously. I personally feel there is so much you can learn from someone 80s, 90s, 100s, whatever, however old you are. There's so much we can learn from them, and sometimes I think in order to really understand them and extract information from them, you have to be around them, and I feel there's so many people that are in that age but they're not able to interact with anyone in society. You know, they're stuck at home, or stuck in a hospital, or stuck in a nursing home. You know, and that's, you know, that's sad. So we don't, you know, these younger generations don't really get that perspective. And so unless you live with like your grandparents or something like that, you know, it's like it's just not there. And I know, like, in a lot of there's a lot of cultures and or civilizations where like the elderly were such an important part, such a sacred component to the society, because they represented wisdom, and they helped guide and direct the community. And so, you know, I feel like it's not necessarily that way anymore. So this would be the benefit of that. This would be the immediate benefit of that, where we could help with that. And obviously there's a lot of other positive benefits. There's a lot of negative things as well, and things that, you know, like that we'll have to address within society. There's a lot of there's a lot of conversations that are going to need to be had. But you know, bottom line, this is something that is very much likely to be something that's going to be on our minds within the next 10 years. Like, and our world's going to significantly change. Like, things are going to be very different, you know? Not only is the concept of like post-aging coming out, but like, but like, there's going to be robots and artificial intelligence, and like what if like extraterrestrials became more of a thing in the future as well, or like, you know, like that kind of thing, or like what else is there? It's like I guess I would say also like merging with technology, people like having like brains that are computer brains. Just like there's all these, it's like I feel like all this this new kind of, I guess with this new wave is going to kind of hit us all at once. And so I guess that's why I feel like it's important to talk about now, and it's important to, you know, it's like to understand like what is going on, you know, what is science talking about, like and what does the possible future look like? Because from what they're saying, 10 years, and like there's 10 years we'll be anticipating not dying. That's not far away at all. And so I think we're just 2017. We are at the beginning, kind of like phase of this transition to like a whole new world, and it's gonna be kind of crazy. And I'm excited for it, and I'm intrigued, and I'm gonna see how. I'm really interested. So, anyways, I just want to share that with you guys. Apologies if I was a little like all over the place in the beginning there, but you know what? That's kind of like part of this project. I'm not trying to be perfect, and I don't know, I'm getting better as I go. I am truly excited to move forward with this project this year. I'm like, I just feel so grateful to have started this. Basically, what I've noticed is that like I've been collaborating with more people lately. There's been people that have been reaching out to me and wanting to collaborate. It's just been a really great, I guess I would say, like a great reason to connect with people and talk about ideas and things that excite me, and the ways that the world is changing. And so I'm excited to keep moving forward through 2017. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Love y'all, and have a fantastic 2017. I'll see y'all tomorrow.